Hello, everyone. Hi. Hey, welcome to every single one of you awesome replay viewers. This is Christine McAlister, the founder of Life with Passion, coming to you today to talk about this very topic, how the key to business success is putting your own oxygen mask on first. Hello, Mallory. Great to see you. Hi, everybody who's joining. Awesome to see you this afternoon. I'm really excited to be talking with you about mask on first because, hi Angie, because it is such a key topic and I think that so many of us miss it. You know, we miss it and we focus on a lot of other things, and then what winds up happening is that we are not happy with the business that we're building. We're not happy with our lives. And a lot of times our business gets blamed for that, or something else gets blamed for it. But the real reason is that we haven't put our own oxygen mask on first. I'm Christine McAlister. I'm the founder of Life with Passion. I help people around the world to quit their jobs and start or grow their dream businesses so that they can live the life of their dreams and get the freedom and the flexible hours and the money that they know they're meant for. If you're here with me, then you are a big dreamer. You're a big dreamer. So I'm here to take your questions about this topic, and I'm here to share how I've seen this in my own life and in my own business. Put your own oxygen mask on first. This is something that they always say on the plane, right? And I've been flying the last week. Thank you for inviting your followers, Mallory. I've been flying. I just got back from a week in Key West. And so, I'm always reminded every time I fly, I love to travel. I travel a lot. What, about this phrase. And it's one, to be honest, that kind of felt selfish to me for a while. Really? What mother is going to put on their own oxygen mask before they put it on their kid, right? Or what father? But, going through what I've been through over the last year, Angie says, I had to do that this week. Good for you, Angie. You chose to do that this week, and I'm super proud of you for that. Way to go. You got to practice that, and every time you practice it, it's going to become easier. I did not learn this lesson until I had to. I did not learn this lesson until I was not capable of functioning as a member of society following the loss of my daughter early last year. And so I learned this lesson the hard way, and now I take a stand in my business and my life for choosing to put your own oxygen mask on first so that you don't get in this repeating crash and burn cycle that I see a lot of people in. Can anybody relate to that? Where you just push yourself until you can no longer push yourself and then you have to stop, right? We do not pay attention to the warning signs. We do not pay attention to what our bodies are telling us. And I know some of you here can relate to this. We do not pay attention to our feelings because it's all about the to-do list. It's all about checking things off. It's all about accomplishing, right? It's all about being more productive. And along the way, we're missing out on life, and we're missing out on being present, and we're missing out on the moment. And we're missing out on what we're trying so hard to create, which is this life that we love, because we think it's something outside of ourselves. And I can really relate to being a workaholic. I can really relate to being a perfectionist. Those were things that I spent years kind of proudly wearing as labels, to be honest. And I've built several businesses, and so I know it takes a lot of work, but I also know the difference between building a business from scratch when it feels like pressure and it feels like striving and it feels like you're being driven by this really strong force to succeed, versus building a business that you love and that just makes you happy, and that when you complete the major tasks in it, you walk away from those tasks jumping around and feeling fantastic and feeling totally like yourself. And so that's what I have built Life with Passion to do, because it uses my most enjoyable skills, things I'm most meant to do, right? The things I'm best at and the things I'm most meant to do. It was just to support other people in living their dreams, and to do that with encouragement and strategy and a little bit of butt kicking when you need it, and accountability and all of those things that make me me. So what does it mean to put your own oxygen mask on first? Do you have ideas? How do you do that in your business? Obviously, this is a strategy for your life and your business, but I'm a business mentor. So all these things bleed together. But here's the thing, if you are wanting to start or grow your own business into the dream so that you could quit your job, or so that you have more time with your family, to travel, to make the kind of money you want to make a big difference in the world, or all of the above, then what you have got to think about is that your business needs to support you rather than you creating a business that sucks all the life out of you. You cannot be working in a business that doesn't pay you anything, for example. And I talk to women who have started great, businesses that are successful on paper, but guess what? They're not making any money. They're not paying themselves for whatever reason. They're reinvesting everything back into the business. Their margins are too small, whatever. It is not supporting them in getting the kind of freedom that they want. So they've created this machine that's basically keeping them chained to it. 24/7, they go to bed worrying about it. They wake up reaching for the phone, wondering what the heck's happened overnight and hoping there haven't been any catastrophes. Or feeling like, I didn't get enough done last night, right? So that is not what Life with Passion and what I take a stand for. I take a stand for you creating a business that you love and that also supports you in a life that you love. Because ultimately what we have is a lot of different interests, right? If you want to quit your job because you want to start your own business, you want to start your own business, you want to grow your own business, you want to travel, all those things, you want to spend more time with your animals. If you're part of my community, chances are you like animals. I have my 2 dogs laying here on the floor supporting me while I scope today. And you want all of those things. You don't want to just do one thing, work in your business all the time, even if you love your business, right? You know that relationships are important. You know that healthy relationships are important and that those take time and choice. And you know that for maybe travel, or that reading, learning, sleeping, eating good food, drinking good wine, whatever it is, those things, you want to be present for those things too. And so it isn't just about creating a successful business for you. Although, hey, if you are super motivated to create a business that you love, I am right there with you. I have always been super motivated, super high achieving, huge, huge, huge dreams. So we're not afraid of work, but we also want other things. We want the money that comes from our business in order to be able to pay to do other things, not just to have the money, right? We want to be able to spend time, traveling and being with our animals and being with our families and giving back in big ways. My husband and I have a nonprofit, and I want it to be an international nonprofit. I have big dreams for that organization that's starting with just the 2 of us and some dear friends and family who are supporting us. So I have come to understand and really, really realize and implement that I've got to put my own oxygen mask on first. So let's talk about some of what that could look like. For one thing, when it comes to money, your business needs to be paying you something in order for it to be self-reinforcing that you want to keep doing it. Because let's face it, if you have nothing to show for your business, it's not a business, it's a hobby. That's how the government defines it, for one thing. And that's how I define it, because it is not generating income to let you do anything else except work in that business. Does that make sense? There are some really specific percentages that you can apply whenever you get income in from your business in order to make it something that is self-supporting and self-reinforcing. And, that's not the topic of this scope. I'm happy to talk with you about it later if you want, but that's the way that I run my business now, rather than like getting a chunk in and being like, I gotta keep it because I don't know when I'm gonna have it, and then I have a business expense and I don't have any money because I took everything to pay myself, which was a cycle I was in for years, a while ago in my first business. Now, every time money comes in, it goes into different buckets, right? And the biggest bucket at this point in my business is paying myself, because it has to be supporting you in some way. Otherwise, why are you doing it? At some point, you're going to burn out if you're not able to pay yourself on it or from it, right? I mean, even if you love the work, it becomes a hobby at some point, and if that's what you want it to be, that's okay. But if you want it to be a business, you need to treat it like a business. And it needs to learn how to be self-supporting. And it's okay if you're not there yet, but that idea is a really important one to implement, and that's something that I help my clients with. So that's one example of putting your own oxygen mask on first. Like, let's say that you have contractors or something, but you're always, all the money that you make is to pay them and not pay you. That's pretty backwards. Like, what are you doing this for? To support their lives but not yours? I mean, it's amazing that you're supporting them, but you're working really hard when you run your own business. I want to see you acknowledge and honor that. Put your own oxygen mask on first. For me, this has come to mean taking at least one full day off of work a week. Non-negotiable. I put it on my calendar, I schedule it. Because it also has the ironic benefit of making me at least twice as productive the day after I take off work. So if I don't take it off, it actually is counterproductive to my business. And I take 2 days off as much as I can. Sometimes I will take half days off here and there and not worry about it. But that has been a huge growth process for me, because it used to feel like I could never work enough, especially, when I was in my 9 to 5, right? Like, there's never enough hours in the day. And then, there have been times when I've been running multiple businesses. There's never enough times in the day. Like, I'm never caught up on my email. There's always people waiting on me for stuff. What are they thinking? I had to realize that the most important thing in order for my business to run efficiently was that I was taking care of myself and my health. And my mental health is a big part of that, because I'm a sensitive, intuitive person. And if I get strung out or stressed out or overwhelmed, I'm no good to anyone. I'm going to be sitting over on the couch binge eating something salty, then something sweet, then something salty, then something sweet, maybe washing it down with a glass of wine, and binge watching whatever my favorite rerun is at the time. Friends, some cheesy teen drama, the escapism. Like, I can tell when it's coming on, because that's the mentality. It's like, must zone out, right? I've gone too far. I've pushed too far. Now, sometimes I just do that because it's fun, but not because I have to, okay? So maybe 3 years ago, I realized I actually made a New Year's resolution. I was like, it is time for me to start resting 1 day a week. And I became addicted to it after I made the habit, because I realized how good it was for everything. And in my mind, I had to schedule it in order for it to be done, or I would always find a reason to work. I had to schedule it like I scheduled the rest of my work week. So that's a tip for you. And you do what makes you happy. If you ride, you go for a ride that day. You give yourself permission to do what makes you happy that day. It doesn't have to cost any money. A lot of times for me, it's laying on the couch and reading a book, or journaling and taking extra time to do that. Angie says, I felt frustrated that I needed so much self-care this week and not work on work. What helps that? Okay, so what about this? What about if we flip it and reframe it and say that you taking time for self-care is actually the best work on work that you could do? Because the more energized and full you are yourself, the more you have to give. And if you're running on half empty or a quarter tank most of the time because you haven't had to take time for your self-care, then you're not operating at full capacity anyway. And so this self-care stuff, it's a lifestyle, putting your own oxygen mask on first. And it's going to ebb and flow because, those of us who are perfectionists, we want to look at our calendar at the beginning of the week and go, oh, I have so much time. Look at all this time I have to work. I'm going to get so much done. And then something happens, that throws off our schedule and we get really freaked out about it, even if it means that we're participating in self-care, right? So today I had a doctor appointment, for example, and it wound up taking most of my day because I had to wait a long time, and then the doctor appointment took a long time, and then them trying to get me scheduled took another hour because all these doctors got to coordinate because I've got, people watching me like a hawk at this point. Everybody wants to know what's going on. Blah, blah, blah. I used to sit in the waiting room and sit in the appointment room and sit in the car on the way to and from and just freak out about how much I wasn't getting done. And then I realized this is an opportunity for me to be in the moment, to be here now. And that's what I would say to you, Angie, because that's what life is about at the end of the day. And if you're bringing that same energy and that same presence and that same message, that's part of your brand, right? The whole equine wellness brand, it's wellness. So where does self-care fit into that? And I would say you're living it. And so that's how you get to reframe it. This week, you sit down to write your blog post, your newsletter. This week is about self-care for me. I believe in self-care because of this. Because I bet if you were talking to a client about it, you would encourage them to rest when they needed it and when they felt like their intuition was saying they needed to, right? How do you feel about that? Does that help with the reframe as opposed to the guilt and the stuff you didn't get done? You're actually doing more for your business than any, Angie says, yes, I do, than any potential topic that you could have finished would do for you. Because that's what life is about at the end of the day, is putting your own oxygen mask on first. And that's what you did. So great timing and great question. If you've got another one, shoot it my way. I love answering these questions for you. Putting your own oxygen mask on first. It can look like something different for everybody. But that is when we gain a true sense of freedom and of purpose, when we listen to what's really going on. And as I talk to a lot of people about, when we get in touch with why we're doing all of this in the first place, right? And we're reminded of what matters, and that's when our shoulders drop and we take the deep breaths rather than being in fight or flight all the time, which a lot of us who work in office jobs and, are stressed about our businesses spend in our, that stress response. This is about activating the relaxation response and realizing that there's a time for everything and that includes relaxation, even when we are super motivated, super driven, super busy entrepreneurs. Put your own oxygen mask on first allows you to remember why you're doing this, and to also focus on the journey, as cheesy as that sounds, instead of one day when I have this much money, then I'll relax, because it's not true. If it's not enough now, it's not going to be enough when you have a certain amount of money in the bank. It's going to be enough when you trust yourself that the actions that you're taking now are leading you along the path to where you want to be, because you're consistent and you're persistent. And you are consistently being challenged and held accountable and supported for the things that are most important to you. Make sense? Other questions? Fire them at me. Putting your own oxygen mask on first can also mean 5 minutes on a meditation app I really like this one called Insight Timer. It's totally free. I have an iPhone, so you could check if it's available for Android. But it has timers on it, and it has a lot of free guided meditations, visualizations for sleep, for waking up, for relaxing, for stress, for anxiety, for anything. And I really enjoy having a little bit more instruction for meditation than just sometimes, just being quiet is great, but sometimes, that helps me to unwind in a different way. So it could be like that for you. I wasn't a meditator for most of my life. I was like, I don't have time for that. I got another task to do. I got another email to write. But I found that it creates so much space in my head, which is always running with a million things, that it's paid huge dividends in my productivity. Mallory says, relaxing my mind during the day is definitely a challenge for me that I need to work on. Great. So now that you're aware of it, that's something that you can do in minute increments. When I was in a 9-to-5, there were times I'd hide in the bathroom just to get myself a minute. I've heard of, moms with little kids doing the same thing at home. But, I know that, Mallory says, I like that idea, right? It's great. Especially if you, deal with any social anxiety or tend toward being an introvert like I do. It is getting away from all the sensory stimulation can be really, really recharging for you. Because most offices today are like cube farms, as my husband calls them, and they are not a place for introverts, right? Constant activity, constant people walking in, asking you something, no privacy, no puppies, which I think should be key to every workplace, and very much overstimulation for the introvert. So you've got to find ways to take yourself out of that environment in order to not totally be overwhelmed. Mallory says, yes, oh my gosh, yes, the puppies. Yeah, totally. I raised a service dog when I was in one of my 9-to-5s, and I got to bring him to work every day, and it was the best thing ever, and people stopped by all day long in order to pet the dog and get some therapy for themselves. And now my dogs, sit next to my desk and support me in working. And so anyway, those are a few tips for you about putting your own oxygen mask on first, but the most important thing is to ask where you can and to really do that before you have to. And if you find yourself in a place where you have to, that's fine. Do it. Give yourself permission to at that point if you're forced to. But if you're not in a place where you feel like you are forced to at this point, take the opportunity to build yourself back up, because the more energy you have, the more clarity you're going to have, because I know that's what so many of you want, is that clarity on the next step. And your brain needs the energy to do higher level thinking, and it does not have that, shuts that down when you're stressed. Guess how you get that back? Put your oxygen mask on first. It could start with 5 minutes a day. It could start with 1 minute increments. So think about what that looks like for you. Even if you take 1 minute a day and do that for a week and notice. There's no one right way to do it, but once you start doing it, I promise you it's going to pay you dividends that will make it very self-reinforcing for you. Questions about that, about putting your own oxygen mask on first, about taking a deep breath. I know I talk really fast, but the scope is meant to encourage you to do just that, to take a deep breath, to look around at your life. Do things that, we all know, maybe that's a good idea, take our dog on a walk, be outside in nature, 5 minutes, sit and, be mindful. Mindfulness has gotten really popular. Most of us don't do it. And we wind up feeling stressed and strained and scattered. And if you're feeling scattered, that's a really good indication that you need to take a minute to put your own oxygen mask on. And from that place of strength that comes from gathering your energy, from telling your brain it's okay, from telling your body it's okay. From that place, you can make decisions for today and for your future that feel very empowering and feel very much like choice and not like obligation and not like pressure and not like something that you're going to regret or spur of the moment, because it allows you to really, really connect with who you are, why you're doing what you do, and what the next step is. And choose to put information into your mind that supports this message if that is what is resonating with you. Because there are a lot of people who just say, you just got to hustle. And that's the way to have a successful business. But as a sensitive, intuitive person who's also an introvert, I disagree, because I know where that hustle. Start thinking about this. Get in Life with Passion Society, my private Facebook group, and post one thing that you're going to do and try to put your own oxygen mask on first. I want to hear one thing that you're doing or something that you've done that works really well for you. Share, because people need to hear this message. I'm really glad you joined me today, and I hope you'll really think about this opportunity to fit more of this into your life and give yourself permission to do just that, knowing that it's the best thing you can do for your business. Because if you are, an entrepreneur and you're driven, Mallory says, I needed this. Thanks. You're so welcome, Mallory. I'm so glad you joined. Thanks for all the hearts. A lot of times we worry that we're going to wind up being lazy if we do that. But the thing is, if we're worried about being lazy, that's a really good indicator that we're not going to be. If we're worried about being lazy, that's a really good indicator that we're not going to be. But if that's a fear, that can keep us from finding balance. Angie says, very helpful. I'm so glad. Way to make the time for yourself. By watching this scope, you're putting your own oxygen mask on first. So something you can put on your list and check off so that you can feel productive. And soon. Have a great, great afternoon. Bye.